everybody? It's our Valentine's Day edition. Woo! What's up, Heath? You look a little stunned.
I never wished I had the ability to comment on the chat by myself. I'm sure I do. I've just never figured it out. But
Yeah, of course you do.
wow, that was something.
Yeah, come on. We're spreading the love. It's our Valentine's Day edition, even though it's February 12th. But, we're getting you ready for a love-filled weekend. Dave, you feeling it?
I'm feeling something.
All right. Jamie, I love you. I hate your shirt.
Love you too, buddy.
All right, today we're going to talk about players we love in early edition. And I feel like this is the second straight year I'm using Chase Brown. So hopefully it works out a little better this year, even though he had a good year. We're going to talk about, well, actually, I've prepared a song.
Yes.
About the players that we're going to talk about.
Oh.
Yeah, hold on. Let me cue up the music.
Oh, great. More music.
Well, it's a song.
Will this music also destroy our eardrums like the first music that you played?
The music won't. The singing definitely will.
Oh, boy.
Okay, here we are. I actually really think this is going to be bad, and I don't want to do it, but I have to now, right? We're committed?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You're just going to try to get us to beg you to
That's why
sing
you're the
it?
male
So then you
podcast
ever...
of the year.
Yeah.
Here we go. Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, my God. In full PPR, I believe that Chase Brown is a star. Heath will say he's in love with Zay, and Dave loves his Egbuka and Puka and Omarion. I know you're not talking about those guys, but the only ones I could fit into this song. Okay, there you go. There's my rendition. Was laughing too hard to sing it. Okay. Well, hello, guys.
Only one stanza?
Yeah. That's it.
I just want to clarify for the audience. Nobody asked you to do that.
No.
You didn't lose any bets.
Correct.
You just made the choice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I wrote it out and everything. All right. Well, anyway, let's get to our news and notes. David Njoku said he's not going to be back with Cleveland. He averaged only 25 yards per game, 24.4 yards per game. 3 straight years before that, between 45 and 55 yards per game. And then he had, whatever, just a bad year. Also left one game after 6 snaps with a season-ending injury, and he's kind of getting up there in age. We'll see where David Njoku ends up. And Dave wanted to talk about the Giants coaching staff. So go ahead, Dave.
We know that Matt Nagy is the offensive coordinator. Greg Roman is there as a run game coordinator. Is that the official title? I'm not exactly sure. I'm a little fuzzy on it. And then Brian Callahan, who we loved as the Titans head coach, is now going to be the quarterback's coach. So, we love Jackson Dart. Love the rushing. Had some great throws. Jacob Gibbs has been showing us that on X. Cam Scadaboo is a ton of fun. We know that when he was healthy, starting and playing a lot, he was averaging north of 19 PPR points per game. But these are the 3 coaches. These are the 3 wise men who will be leading Dart, Scadaboo. I can't forget about Malik Neighbors, Nagy, Roman, Callahan. That is a circus buffet of worry when it comes to play design, play calling, and hoping that these players end up being great, knowing the track record of 2 of the 3 guys. Roman, we might give a little bit of credit to, but I'm just wondering has there ever been a coaching staff where you look at the coaches and you go, these guys suck. I've got to hold it against this player when it comes to fantasy, when it comes to drafting them.
I don't know what you're talking about, Dave. Jackson Dart now has, he stole Patrick Mahomes' offensive coordinator. The guy designing the run game is the guy that was designing the run game when Lamar won his first MVP. And the guy designing the pass game is the guy who developed Joe Burrow as a passer, as an offensive coordinator. Like Jackson Dart is basically going to be Patrick Mahomes with Lamar Jackson's rushing and Joe Burrow's development as a passer.
So you moved up Jackson Dart in your rankings then, is what I'm hearing.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Heath. I drowned you out with the music there.
No, I'm just saying it's phenomenal. He's got.
I thought you only played Dave off.
Yeah, I'm the only one that gets played off around here.
Well, not all of them are calling the plays or coaching the team, right?
They're all doing what they're best at.
They have had right. I think that's kind of what they're trying to do is let Matt Nagy focus on the passing game more and let Greg Roman design a running game, which he's been really good at. And then Brian Callahan developing quarterbacks is something he's been really good. It's not just Burrow. These guys have worked with, I think it was Matthew Stafford, right? Callahan worked with Stafford, and
isn't
Callahan worked with a bunch of quarterbacks?
What's that?
Isn't Callahan younger than Stafford?
Probably, but I don't know. I mean, actually, it's an experienced coaching. I'm not sharing all of your pessimism. I think the Nagy hire really I didn't like it, but the Roman and Callahan hires don't bother me at all.
I think it always comes down to Jimmy's and Joe's versus X's and O's. So if you have the players, they're going to make coaches look good. And I think the Giants have the players. So is it the most ideal situation? Obviously not. We said that when they hired Nagy. I don't know who was on the show, but we talked about this, that this was not the guy that we wanted to see taking control of this offense in terms of who was out there. Does that mean it's going to be bad? I don't think so by any stretch. It's just not the ideal situation on paper. So yes, these guys have a good track record at times being in control of certain parts of their offense. Hopefully that's the case. I think they got good players to work with. And if these guys do what they're supposed to do, they're going to make these guys look good as coaches.
All right. All right. That's it for our news and notes. All right. Valentines. Here we go. Okay. Dave.
I think you've committed to the bit now. I don't know why you're stopping the music after.
I've never rooted for the iceberg more than when you came.
I needed to do it without laughing so much. Also, I probably realized now that the people watching on YouTube probably couldn't even hear the music. So it was just my horrible singing.
That's even better.
No. Dave, Emeka Egbuka and late round quarterbacks. These are your fantasy Valentines. So are we going to get early season Egbuka, late season Egbuka, or something in between? Why do you love him so much?
I think you'll get closer to early season Egbuka, but keep in mind that late season Egbuka was gross. It was really bad. We're talking about 8.1 PPR points per game from week 7 on. That's not even late season Egbuka. That's mid season Egbuka, but he had the hamstring injury. And I think that was part of the downfall for the Bucs, and not just his injury, but Baker got hurt. The offensive line had some mixing and matching to do, and it really tanked Tampa's season. When I think about what this offense could look like when healthy, provided that Mike Evans is back, it's going to be deep. But they've seen the good of Emeka Egbuka, and the good from Emeka Egbuka is insane. And he was getting just about the same type of target share when he averaged 20.5 PPR points per game in his first 5 games as he did when he was averaging 7.7 targets per game from week 7 on. I think he's super talented. I think it's silly to ding him too much for last year. I don't think he's going to be a 20 PPR point per game receiver, but I bet he could get to 15. I think he'll be the lead wideout in Tampa. I think Baker will be more like Baker this coming year. And more importantly, I think the Bucs could end up being like the Cardinals, like the Cowboys, a team that's loaded on offense, crappy on defense, and leads to a bunch of high-scoring games. I want players from those teams, and so Egbuka is the one that I'm kind of swooning for. I drafted him yesterday in round 4 in our mock. I would do it again, and I think that's where he'll end up, unless the hype gets out of control in his second year, and then he goes into round 3. At that point, we could have another conversation about it, but for now, round 4 is where it's at. And speaking of rounds and values, I want to run these names past you guys. These were all the quarterbacks taken round 11 or later in our PPR mock yesterday, 1 QB league, 12 teams. Trevor Lawrence, Patrick Mahomes, Matthew Stafford, the league MVP Matthew Stafford went round 11 plus. Jared Goff, aforementioned Baker Mayfield, and then Bo Nix, and then Sam Darnold was like the last quarterback taken, whatever, with Darnold. But the rest of those quarterbacks, pretty awesome. And I can't justify taking even Josh Allen with a top 30 or even a top 40 pick, knowing that I can get two of those quarterbacks if I wanted to real late in the draft. And we know what their potential is. We saw it from half of them this year, and the ones we didn't see it from, we saw it last year. Think about those names again: Lawrence, Mahomes, Stafford, Goff, Mayfield, Nix, Darnold. Look, when it comes to these guys,
I just don't understand why I get played off after 30 seconds.
No, I get played
and
off all
Dave
the
gets
time.
a 12-minute rope.
No, pipe down. I want this. I don't care when it comes to these late round quarterbacks. Play the music, Adam. Let's go.
I already did.
Don't care
He already did.
who they are, where they're from, or what they did, as long as they love me and my fantasy team.
That was good. I like
would
that you tied the song there.
I would feel a lot better about that group if Jalen Hurts and Dak hadn't gone in round 8 of this. When I saw Dave's, I was thinking about putting Hurts as my Valentine, just because I think he's fallen to like QB 12 or something in Dynasty now, and fell to round 8 in the draft we just did. And I'm gonna have a hard time passing on that to wait for the double-digit rounds. But you could just take one of each, which I did.
Just a little off subject here, but I just want to bring this up with Josh Allen, who's probably going to be QB1. He deserves it. Here is fantasy points per game in the last 5 years.
You do this every time we talk about Josh Allen in the offseason.
Removing, well, I don't think I've done this yet. So this year.
You already have once, yes.
I don't think I have. Removing week 18?
Yes, you have.
All right, well,
it's okay. Go ahead. We have new listeners.
It's worth repeating. 6 point per passing touchdown league. Points per game, removing week 18 of last year and 2024 and 2025. Josh Allen has averaged 28.9, 27.6, 28.7 over the last 6 years. 26.2, 26.6, and 25.8 fantasy points per game. Phenomenal, but not so far away from, the guys that are going 6 rounds later.
Well, I think everybody knows the dip the last 2 years was Sean McDermott's fault. And now that he's gone, everything's going to be better in Buffalo.
Well, I mean, he obviously needs a wide. It so coincides with Stephon Diggs, right? Diggs was there and great, and Allen was amazing. Diggs was there and not good, and Allen was great but not amazing. And then the last 2 years, Diggs hasn't been there, and he just hasn't had any good receivers really. All right, so Egbuka went 2 picks, 1 wide receiver before Zay Flowers, who is one of Heath's love guys. It actually went Egbuka, Colston Loveland, and Zay Flowers, and they're all going to be talked about today. Just want to remind you all that football season is over, but the action never stops at BetMGM. Register with BetMGM to get instant access to the best variety of parlay selection features, no sweat and boost tokens, live betting options, and much more. New players can receive up to $1,500 back in bonus bets with bonus code FANTASY. Bonus code FANTASY, use it. If they don't win their first bet. You don't want to miss out on any of the hard-hitting action at BetMGM. Place your money line, parlay bets, and more today. BetMGM, make it legendary. All right, quick break, and we'll talk about something that Heath loves and more after this.
When you need your sports news all the time,
we've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you. When you need your sports in a snap, find it on CBS Sports HQ, streaming free anywhere you are.
All right, Heath, you love FFT Dynasty. We all love it. Give us a quick FFT Dynasty promo.
Yeah, I had a one-man mailbag on Tuesday, also working through kind of the state of the positions before we get to free agency and the draft, and everything looks different, looking where the openings are. We'll be working on tight ends tomorrow.
Excellent. Okay, and let's get right into a tight end. Sam LaPorta is someone you love. Sam LaPorta was the number 7 tight end per game, on pace for only 93 targets in those 9 games that he played. So, he's someone you drafted yesterday, and he's on your love list.
Yeah, and he's been a must-start tight end for his first 3 years in the league with a 17-game average of 102 targets. So because he's in one of the best offenses in the NFL, because he's been really good at scoring fantasy points on a per-target basis, even at 102 targets, he's a top 6 tight end, and I think one of the best values in terms of drafts right now because everybody's more excited about the second-year guys. Of course, the big boost for him is that his new offensive coordinator, Drew Petzing, each of the 3 years that he was an offensive coordinator, the team threw the ball to tight ends more than 150 times per game. The Cardinals averaged closer to 180 targets for tight ends per game. And it won't be the same thing in Detroit because he didn't have an Amon-Ra St. Brown in Arizona. But I still think we're going to see a target boost for LaPorta. He'll continue to be one of their favorite options in the red zone as long as he's healthy for training camp, which we've heard some reports that it's questionable whether he's ready for the start of camp, but I think most people expect him to be ready early in the season. He has a chance to give you top 5 tight end production, but you don't have to reach into round 4 or 5 to get him.
Why were you worried about the Lions offense going into what was it? Was it the pass volume you were worried about?
Well, first off, it was just, I don't know that I think I was pretty clear that I thought they were going to be a top 5 offense. It's just the year before they were the number 1 offense by a huge margin. So there was some obvious regression coming. Ben Johnson had left and we had a bit of an unknown at offensive coordinator. And I think we saw those concerns kind of play out. The offensive coordinator got fired because the coach wasn't happy with the things that he did. And they did regress by a little bit in terms of scoring.
Yeah. I wasn't trying to call you out on that. I was wondering if it had anything to do with pass volume because it's now 2 years in a row. If we go back to preseason, one of the things that may have concerned people about the Lions was their defense completely fell apart late in the year in 2024. And Jared Goff just started throwing so much. And the same exact thing happened because during Sam LaPorta's 9 games, Jared Goff averaged only 30 pass attempts per game. And after his injury, it wasn't like their defense fell apart immediately, but after his injury, Jared Goff averaged a lot more than that. Come on, Pro Football Reference, whatever. But I guess I just want to, I've brought that up before. Sorry. But if the Lions defense can just stay healthy, they might be kind of a lower pass volume team. I wonder how that would.
And again, that probably comes down to how much control is Dan Campbell still exerting over the offense. Or, I mean, he took over the offense and called plays for half of last year and then decided, let's go hire someone who has done that before and said that he's going to call plays. So I think it probably has some impact on how much is Dan Campbell still pulling the levers.
All right, I'm very fascinated with your next choice here on your Valentines list, and it's Zay Flowers. Number 7 wide receiver in fantasy. On a per-game basis, he was 15th in non-PPR, 12th in half, 12th in full PPR. This is Zay Flowers. And he had almost the same amount of targets and carries. He's a guy who gets 9 or 10 carries a year, as he did last year. But he was so much more efficient. Do I need to stop saying last year? When I say last year, what does that mean to you?
2025.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because I've been meaning it as 2024. So I need to stop that.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway, Zay Flowers
That was 2 years ago.
Yeah, not surprising from the
That's how
guy
you
who
would say
thinks
that.
11:30 is afternoon.
Oh, I have a question about that. 12:30 in the morning. Is that morning or night?
This morning.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
It is what we call
You
the
just said 12:30 in the morning.
Exactly.
You had to distinguish it.
Exactly. It's clearly the night. No one would be like, oh, it's morning time. It's the middle of the night, which is why noon or 11:30 a.m. is technically it's the afternoon. Anyway, Zay Flowers.
So you say Happy New Year to your wife, like when you wake up at 8 a.m. the next day?
If I had fallen asleep before midnight, sure.
Did he sing the night before or not?
But once it becomes midnight, it's the next day.
But it's not morning. It's still nighttime. Everything about that time is nighttime. There's no way Heath actually thinks that 12:30 a.m. is morning. There's just no way. He's not making eggs at that point. Like, it is not morning time.
Eggs at night are great. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I have breakfast for dinner all the time.
Okay, sorry,
I
bad
do.
example.
Zay Flowers has gotten better every year of his NFL career. Yards per target goes up every year. Yards per game goes up every year. He is a star. And I think there's some people that will expect some regression from last year. Maybe there's a little bit, but there's also a very good chance that the Baltimore Ravens throw more than 422 passes, which is what they threw last year. And when you say his targets only increased by 2, you have to take into account that he earned 2 more targets on a team that threw 422 passes last year. That's 55 fewer than they threw the year before when they were one of the 3 lowest teams in terms of pass attempts. So I just think he is still a little bit under the radar as a star wide receiver. He hasn't gotten the red zone targets, and that's led to him only scoring 5 touchdowns in a season as a max, at least in terms of receiving. I think he had a rushing one last year as well. But we know that can be a little bit fluky in terms of touchdown production. His is so low that it certainly projects a potential for a 7 or 8 touchdown season. And if he does that and is anywhere close to as good as he was last year, or if he does that and they throw 50 more passes again, Zay Flowers could be a top 6 wide receiver.
Any thoughts? How about Egbuka or Flowers? Jamie, who do you prefer?
Oh, there's too many questions to be answered with both of those teams to make a decision. Right now, I would probably lean Flowers, but I think you just look at if, as Dave alluded to, if Evans is gone, then the sky's the limit potentially for Egbuka. If Evans is back, and now we're talking a healthy McMillan and Godwin and Evans, then it's tough to say. But in the case of the Ravens, like, I don't know if they're done by any stretch with what their offense is going to look like. I mean, they have a new head coach and a new offensive coordinator. They have to make a decision on DeAndre Hopkins, who's going to be, I believe, 34. I have to make a decision on Isaiah Likely if he returns. I think if Likely is gone, that's a big plus for Flowers because it's one less significant pass catcher there. The fact that they made the decision to stick with Andrews and move on from Likely was a little puzzling. So, I think you kind of know what Andrews is going to do, especially at this point in his career. But, look, Lamar Jackson being healthy with seemingly part of the reason why they moved on from Harbaugh should lend itself to being a more Lamar Jackson centric offense. And what I mean by that is maybe more passing to what Heath is talking about. So that should help Flowers. So no Evans, I'll probably go Egbuka. With Evans, I'll probably go Flowers.
Okay. Dave, you took Egbuka over Flowers.
And I'll do it again.
Oh. Heath, who would you have taken?
Flowers. Yeah,
Okay.
I probably should have taken Flowers earlier than where he went. But it was probably due to where I was picking, right? Did he not come back to me, or did I pass on him before?
Let's see. Flowers went to RJ. You passed on it. You would have had to take him. Well, you took Judkins.
Yeah, I probably should have just taken Flowers there.
Okay. Devontae Adams was also on the board. Would you have taken Adams or Flowers?
Flowers.
Okay. And they both have Egbuka and Flowers both have new offensive coordinators also. So that's part of the question marks, I guess. All right, Jamie, you're feeling the love. Who are your fantasy Valentines?
I thought this was supposed to be Valentine's, so I took Colston Loveland and Jordan Love.
Right, which I only believe one of them for you.
Well, that might be true.
All right, so talk about Colston Loveland, who went in between Egbuka and Flowers in round 4.
I mean, 10, 13, 15, 10, his last 4 games, and those were his targets in his last 4 games. Like, this feels like the guy who's going to lead the Bears in targets. And anytime we get that type of potential for a tight end with a coach like Ben Johnson and a quarterback like Caleb Williams, the sky's the limit for what he could do. So I think it's pretty clear at this point that he's going to be in the top 4 tight ends. I think a lot of people will probably have him as tight end 3, but Harold Fannin will make that a interesting discussion after both Trey McBride and Brock Bowers come off the board. But what Loveland showed at the end of the season, some of that was obviously due to Rome Odunze and his health, but like, he was the featured part of this passing game. And I think that's going to continue. He was dealing with a shoulder injury coming into the start of the season. I don't think he was fully healthy until probably the midpoint of the season. And you just started to see everything improve for him. And so now going into year 2, when we see a jump for these young tight ends, at least the great ones, I think he has the potential to be an absolute superstar. So everybody's going to want to draft him. I think as we talked about in the course of the mock draft, Heath laid it out pretty well that, once you get past McBride and Bowers, then you get that group of tight ends where Tucker Kraft comes into play if he's healthy as well. But you have, the young tight ends of Loveland and Fannin and Warren. Those four guys, you want to throw LaPorta in there also. I get it. Those tight ends that are in great offenses showed some great flashes. Obviously Warren was the beginning part of the season, Fannin the middle to the end of the season. Like, these guys are just going to be so much fun. And I hope we're not talking about the mid-round tight ends that typically fail us, like Kyle Pitts and OJ Howard once upon a time, have done throughout the course of the last 10 plus years. But these guys just look like they're poised for greatness. And Loveland to me is my favorite of the group. So really excited to see what he does in year 2 and hopefully building off the end of the season.
Okay. How confident, I'll ask all of you, on a scale of 1 to 10, 0 to 10, -5 to 10, how confident are you that Colston Loveland will lead the Bears in targets?
1.
8.
3.
Okay. How confident are you that he will be top 2 in targets?
1 billion.
9.
6.
Okay. And really, he doesn't have to lead the team in targets, but
Right.
top 2 in targets is almost essential. It's so hard, very, very, very hard to finish as a top 5 tight end without being top 2 on your team in targets.
He
Have I
would have
said
been the number 1 tight end. At least he was on pace to, well, maybe not number 1, but number 2. There were 6 games that he played without Burden or Odunze. One of them was missing. He averaged 17.6 PPR points per game on 7.5 targets per game in those 6 games. The problem is that both those guys are definitely going to be on the Bears next year. And so maybe I was a little too high on saying that Loveland is a 9 to finish top 2 on the team in targets. But I still can't help but think that he provides such a mismatch for them all over the field. Defenses are going to have a hard time lining up against him. And he should be in for a really good year. It's certainly a better second season. Can it be 17.6 PPR points per game? Probably not without a major injury to Burden or Odunze.
Okay, so let's hear Jamie make the case for loving Jordan Love, who did score 25 or more fantasy points in 3 of his last 4 games, including the playoffs, not counting the Bears game that he left with an injury. Do you really love Jordan Love, Jamie?
So it really was a Packer that I was going to talk about. But I was like, let's just stick with the Love thing. But it was really Christian Watson because I drafted him quite a bit so far. But really just the Packers passing game, I think, is going to be fun to watch. I'm curious, Josh Jacobs did not finish the season strong. He dealt with some injuries down the stretch with a knee problem. If he takes a step back, what we saw from Jordan Love in his first year as a starter was an impressive fantasy quarterback. We had a huge debate about this through the entire offseason after, I believe it was 2023 going into 2024. Got hurt in the start of the season, so who knows what led to how that season played out when he got hurt in the game in Brazil. But I do think that there's more to offer for this passing game. We saw flashes from Love in 2025. We just didn't see it from a consistent basis. And I think the disappointment was that they finally drafted a receiver in the first round, and Matthew Golden was not great. Christian Watson was not there for the first half of the season. Tucker Kraft was not there for the second half of the season. You get everybody there and hopefully a better Matthew Golden. I think this passing game can offer more. So Jordan Love, I didn't want to, sort of trample on what Dave's second point was, because I think Jordan Love belongs in that late round quarterback discussion, but at the very tail end, of the guys you can sort of draft as still a starter. Not that you'd want to, but I think he's still worth drafting as a high-end backup. So like once you get past like that, Baker Mayfield, Bo Nix, and I'm not saying this is the order, but the guys that are still have starting potential, I think Love still has starting potential. But really for me, Christian Watson, I'm excited to see what he can do for a full season now that he's healthy, because he was such a significant playmaker last year. And I hope that maybe the flashes that we saw, end of Aaron Rodgers' tenure there, start of Jordan Love's tenure with the Packers, like there's been so many glimpses of him being a superstar. I think he finally started to put it together a little bit last season. And if the targets can tick up a little bit, then I think we could be talking about a guy that's going to push to be a top 20 caliber receiver. I don't think he's ever going to be a top 15 plus guy because I don't think he'll command enough targets. But certainly the touchdown potential is there. He could have a very nice season going into 2026.
Yeah, Christian Watson had a 23.5% target per route run rate in his last 7 games. And that's really good. And he was treated like a number one receiver in ways that we hadn't seen since Jordan Love became the quarterback. As far as Love goes, Jamie, this guy's been top 7 in yards per attempt 2 straight years. It's been really good, but they have been 27th or lower in pass attempts. They've just been a very run-heavy team. So both Watson and Love, we just need them to throw the ball more. Their defense, just like the Lions, the Packers defense collapsed after Parsons got hurt. So, we'll see when Parsons is back. Torn ACL, I imagine he'll be back pretty early in the season. But yeah, Love's a good quarterback. He just doesn't throw that much and he doesn't run that much. Bad combination, I suppose. All right. So to recap, Dave, I can just sing the song again. Forget it. Dave loves Egbuka and the late round quarterback value. Heath loves LaPorta and Flowers. Jamie loves Love, basically. Loveland and Love. And I love 2 running backs, although not really sure I believe one of them. But we'll talk about that when we come back after this break on Fantasy Football Today.
They want to take this place from us. My family is in danger. My wife is lost to me, and I don't have time.
1923, new season now streaming exclusively on Paramount Plus.
Chase Brown and Tony Pollard are the players I love. Don't really love Tony Pollard. Don't know why I settled on him. I couldn't think of anyone. We tried to come up with 2. I only had 1. I guess I could have just gone with Joe Burrow and done the Bengals thing again. But I'll make a case.
So just to be clear, the show topic you came up with.
No,
you only asked for 2 players.
Yeah,
and you couldn't come up with the second one.
I could. Well, I mean, I felt like there were some obvious ones. I was going to go with Amari and Hampton, but then I thought, do I love Amari and Hampton? I'm not sure. I think I do. Look, I'm in a very it's a complicated part of my life right now. I'm trying to figure these things out.
I got one for you that you should love.
Who?
You loved him last year too. Quentin Johnston.
I was going to go with Quentin Johnston, who I drafted yesterday. And I do think, we talk about X's and O's and Jimmys and Joes a lot, but we obviously think that Mike McDaniel is going to be good for all of the Jimmys and Joes on the Chargers. And also Greg Roman, I think, could have been good for them if they had stayed healthy, but they were without their 2 starting tackles for most of the year.
The guy I actually was going to say before I went with the Love theme was Loveland and Herbert.
Yeah, I think so. But look, Chase Brown, I'll be quick on Chase Brown. He took over as the starter in 2024, which is 2 years ago, apparently. And he was the number 3 running back per game in full PPR. And he averaged 20.6 PPR fantasy points per game. When Joe Burrow came back in 2025, which I guess was 1 year ago, he averaged 22.3 PPR fantasy points per game. So that is 2 stretches of absolutely elite production. And I think the encouraging thing is he did all of that this past year with Samaje Perine. And he was still only playing about 61% of the snaps in that stretch with Joe Burrow, Chase Brown, that is. And he still caught a lot of passes because Burrow threw to him a lot. And he scored a lot of touchdowns. He's on pace for 22 touchdowns, 11 rushing, 11 receiving. I obviously don't expect that to continue. But what would hold me back from Chase Brown is just not really being sure if he's that good of a rusher. And also this horrible tendency of the Bengals to just run out of the shotgun, hand the ball off to him, and have him smash up the middle into defensive linemen. And it doesn't really fit his skill set. It's annoying, but he's able to overcome that by being on one of the best offenses in football that feeds him the ball a ton, gives him a lot of catches. And if Samaje Perine is not on the team, if they give him the 3rd down role, he played about 85% of the snaps in the 3 games without Perine. He could be RB1, honestly, like probably in a weaker RB year, but he has that potential. So I love Chase Brown. Any thoughts, or should we move on to Pollard?
So you're drafting him late round 1 or wherever you can get him in round 2?
I took him 10th yesterday.
Yep.
And I like him more than Hampton. Hampton was a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, not 2 months ago, a month and a half ago, I was kind of like really excited about Hampton, but I've become more excited. I've moved Chase Brown ahead.
You took him over Jonathan Taylor and James Cook?
I should not have taken him over Taylor, I don't think, but I would take him over Cook, yeah.
Okay. Those are the
Would
2
you have
guys
taken him over Christian McCaffrey?
No, but I was happy that I didn't have to make that choice and McCaffrey was off the board. if that makes sense.
No,
You know, my heart on Love Day wants Chase Brown over McCaffrey. My head says that's pretty silly. Don't do that. Okay, Tony Pollard. I think what I loved about him is where he went in the draft yesterday, 10th pick of round 7. And that's RB 28. Last year, he was RB 28 per game. So in full PPR, it makes sense. I think what I like about him is that over the last 2 seasons, he's been on the Titans. The Tennessee Titans in the last 2 years have had 13 running back carries from the 3-yard line or closer. In that same stretch, Derrick Henry has 35. Derrick Henry's had 3 times as many goal line carries as the Tennessee Titans over the last 2 years. They've had one of the worst offenses in football each of the last 2 years. This can only get better. He finished the year really strong. 161 yards and 2 touchdowns at Cleveland. 104 yards at San Francisco. 102 yards against Kansas City. 85 yards against the Saints. Those are good defenses. Even the Saints, good run defense. And then 14 carries for 48 yards against the Jaguars. Really tough matchup there. But look, 2 things need to happen. He needs to score more touchdowns, and he needs to catch more like 35 to 40 balls. He caught 33, so he probably needs to get to like 40. And then I think you've got a real bargain if you can get Tony Pollard in round 7. And
I can give you one other thing that could happen that could make you really love Tony Pollard. He gets cut, and he lands on a team where he's a 1A back, a Band-Aid, if you will, for a year. He's going into his age 29 season, which ain't great, but it's also right now a contract year. The Titans can cut him and save $7.25 million. They don't have to wait till June 1st or any designations. They can just let him go. And it's a new coaching staff. They're probably going to want to get younger and surround Cam Ward with as many fresher, younger players as they can. And I wonder if that's a move that they're going to make with Pollard. And if that happens and he reunites in Dallas or if he goes somewhere else, who knows? Like that could be the ticket for Pollard to be a pretty good fantasy running back again.
Yeah. And I also don't.
Oh, I got somewhere gross where he goes. Pittsburgh with McCarthy again.
Yep. I thought of that too.
I don't think Tennessee really views Tyjae Spears as a starting running back. He has 3 or 4 games his entire career, 3 years with 10 or more carries. So I think, you know, in 2024, Pollard actually had a better year, but Spears missed a lot of that season. Spears missed the first 4 games of this season, but when he came back, he just wasn't really that much of a factor, except in the passing game. He was a 3rd down back. So, all right. Well, anyway, just keep an eye on Tony Pollard. It's
one last
basically,
thing. Where did you draft Pollard yesterday?
I don't think I drafted him, but he went with the 10th pick of round 7 as RB 28.
Right. That's a great
I thought you
round
did take
to build running back depth.
Let's see if I took him. Tony Pollard. Some guy named Adam Aizer took him. I don't know who that weirdo is. Oh, he's the guy who sings all the time. Yeah, I took Tony Pollard.
3rd person for the 2nd show in a row.
Yeah. Someone says Tony Pollard is a boring back. I'll leave him for someone else to draft. I mean, I kind of agree.
Yeah, but if it's round 7 and the dude's starting, that's
he's a good hero RB target. He's obviously a great 0 RB target, you know, depending on where he's playing. But I just think that, well, Dave's right. Like he could still go someplace and be a prominent factor. And Dallas would be great if they move on from Javonte Williams. You could see Kansas City as an option, you know, as somebody that makes sense there. And, you know, you have replacement options potential in Jacksonville, the Jets, and Seattle for starting options being open, especially in what is a weaker rookie class. But I think if he stays in Tennessee, that probably is his best bet to be a good fantasy asset, because I agree with you, Adam. I think there's only one way to go for this offense, which is up. And so if he goes like if he, you know, the Pittsburgh situation, you know, McCarthy wants to have somebody that he knows and he's available if he does get cut, like that just feels messy with, you know, Jalen Warren there. If he goes to Kansas City and they draft somebody, that feels messy, you know. So there's a lot of messy potential. Like if he stays in a tandem with Tyjae Spears, like I like that the best for him.
Yeah.
And yeah, he is boring, but Tony Pollard's actually rushed for over 1,000 yards 4 straight seasons. So if he can, you know, 1,080 yards, I think is about what he rushed for this. If he can do that, but score 3 more touchdowns and maybe catch 7 more passes, then you've got a guy who could be like RB 18 or something like that. The guy that's not leaving your lineup basically. And yeah, is he going to win you your league? No. But
If you keep his, outlook in check, and just understand that you're getting a serviceable starter as opposed to a league-winning guy.
Yeah.
How about this? If you had the pick over again, would you have taken Pollard or Krosky Merritt or Woody Marks? 2 younger running backs who went after Pollard in our draft.
Tony Pollard.
Okay.
I'm a little concerned at the complete lack of receptions from Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt. Also concerned that I think Chris Rodriguez was just better than him for much of the year. But I don't think that Chris Rodriguez is better than him in general. But Rodriguez might be a little underrated. And then in Marks, Marks is another guy I had been drafting. I think in our previous drafts, I drafted him both times. I don't know.
Both those backfields feel like they're getting overhauled a little bit.
Yeah, he might not be very good.
I think if you're drafting your third running back, I'd probably take Marks or Krosky Merritt. I'd probably take Bill, just for the upside, because he could have a much better year, I think, than Tony Pollard likely has. But if it's a hero RB or a zero RB and you need a starter, there you go.
Sorry. Just a joke. All right. Well, have a great weekend, guys. Do you have any actual Valentine's Day plans?
Haven't done a thing yet.
Potentially 2 baseball games, 1 soccer game, and 2 practices.
That's right. I'm driving up to West Palm Beach to watch Highlands Christian play in the regional quarterfinals. So,
Dave,
What?
going out for a steak dinner?
No.
Okay.
What is that?
That's supposed to be you?
That's me. Is that a bunch of me's in the background?
That looks like you playing the violin while someone more handsome than you is singing.
That's definitely not you.
I think it's supposed to be me, but ChatGPT is not great, or whatever was used.
The violin player looks more like you than.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for those of you who can't see, there's a picture of a man, basically the Titanic sinking, with the orchestra playing and someone dressed in a tuxedo singing.
Is that Mark Sanchez singing?
Looks like Nick Costos a little bit.
Looks more like Mario Lopez.
Let's just say it's me. I'll take it. Thank you, everybody, for watching and listening. Have a great weekend. I honestly don't know if we're going to have a show on Monday or Tuesday, because Monday is a holiday, but I don't know that we celebrate it like President's Day. I don't think we're off. So
I think it'll be Tuesday.
Tuesday. All right, Tuesday it is. We will talk to you Tuesday on Fantasy Football Today. See ya.